The first time I visited the community garden, I felt as though I had stepped into a peaceful world hidden inside the busy city. Tall buildings surrounded the garden, but once I walked through the wooden gate, the noise faded and was replaced by the soft sound of leaves moving in the wind. I had joined a weekend volunteer program because I wanted to learn more about growing plants and to reconnect with nature. A friendly woman named Sarah welcomed me at the entrance. She explained that the garden was created by local residents who wanted a shared green space. People in the neighborhood planted vegetables, herbs, and flowers together. The goal was not only to grow food, but also to build a sense of community. She led me down a narrow path lined with tomato plants. Their bright green leaves created a thin shadow on the ground. I noticed rows of carrots, spring onions, and cabbage. The air smelled fresh and earthy. I felt an immediate sense of calm, something I rarely experienced in my fast-paced life. My first task was simple. Sarah handed me a small watering can and showed me how to water the young seedlings gently. She explained that new plants needed just the right amount of moisture. Too much water could harm them, and too little would leave them weak. I moved slowly from row to row, watching the soil darken under the water. After watering, I helped remove weeds from the herb section. As I worked, an elderly man approached me. He introduced himself as Mr. Lee, one of the founding members of the garden. He told me that when the garden first started, there was nothing here except dry soil. People in the neighborhood worked together to create a place where everyone could grow something meaningful. Listening to his story made me appreciate the garden even more. It was not just a space for plants. It was a living example of teamwork, patience, and hope. When I left that day, I felt eager to return and continue learning. On my second visit, I arrived early in the morning. The sunlight was soft, and a thin layer of dew covered the leaves. Several volunteers were already working. Some were trimming branches, some were harvesting lettuce, and others were preparing new areas for planting. The garden felt alive with movement. Sarah asked me to join a small group planting new seedlings. She explained that each plant had specific needs. Some required full sunlight, while others preferred partial shade. Some needed deep soil, while others grew well near the surface. I was surprised by how different each plant was. Every one of them required attention and understanding, just like people. As we worked, I spoke with a young volunteer named David. He told me that he had joined the garden because it helped him reduce stress. He said that caring for plants reminded him to slow down and be patient. His words made me reflect on my own life. I often rushed from task to task, forgetting to breathe, forgetting to observe, forgetting to appreciate simple things. Later in the afternoon, we moved to the compost area. I had never used compost before, so Sarah explained the process. She showed us how food scraps, dried leaves, and garden waste decomposed naturally into rich soil. She called it the circle of life because everything returned to the earth to help new plants grow. The idea felt both scientific and poetic. We used the compost to enrich the soil around the vegetable beds. As I placed the dark, crumbly soil around the plants, I felt connected to something larger than myself. I was part of a process that supported life. It was a quiet but powerful feeling. By the time I returned for my third week of volunteering, the garden had begun to feel like a second home. I recognized many faces, and each person greeted me warmly. The sense of community was strong. People shared tools, exchanged gardening tips, and celebrated small successes, such as the first ripe tomato or the first strawberry of the season. This time, my task was to help with a small workshop for children. The goal was to teach them how to plant their own seeds. I handed out tiny pots, soil, and packets of bean seeds. The children listened with wide eyes as we explained how a seed grows into a plant. Many of them had never planted anything before. Their excitement reminded me of my own curiosity when I first entered the garden. Watching them carefully push seeds into the soil made me feel hopeful. Perhaps these small moments would help them appreciate nature as they grew older. After the workshop, I joined Mr. Lee in the fruit section. Together we checked the berry bushes and trimmed the branches. As we worked, he told me how the garden had changed over the years. New people joined, families came together, and friendships formed. He said the garden was more than a place. It was a reminder that a community could grow strong when people cared for something together. When the sun began to set, I sat on a wooden bench and looked around. The garden glowed in the warm light. Children laughed near the herb beds. Volunteers chatted as they put away tools. Bees continued their work among the flowers.